Some of it is coming ashore in Louisiana's marshlands at the mouth of the Mississippi River Delta. Yesterday we got our first look at one thick layer of oil there. You can see the coating on these plants here. People who have seen it up close say it's as thick as chocolate syrup. The president of Plaquemines Parish there, where the oil is coming ashore, calls it a blanket in the marsh that will destroy every living thing there. While the oil is obviously dangerous, more reports are suggesting the dispersants being used both underwater and on the surface, as we've been reporting here for weeks. Now they admit the dispersants could pose a very real threat. Today, the Environmental Protection Agency, 31 days after the explosion, responded by giving BP 24 hours to pick a less toxic dispersant. The White House Press Secretary Robert Gibbs spoke out about this decision today.
As we move forward, the EPA believed best to use the least toxic dispersant. Again, as we are into well into the fourth week of what has happened in the Gulf.
31 days later, and now we decide to use the least toxic dispersant. Guess what about this dispersant that they've been using for 3 weeks? It's banned in the United Kingdom because it's too toxic. 4 weeks after the leak started, the Obama administration is telling BP to use cleaner chemicals.
Joining us now is BP's COO, Doug Suttles. And Mr. Suttles, let's get right to it. People have really had enough of this. You know, initially you're saying 5,000 barrels were leaking. Now we can see for ourselves that it's far more than that. Could be approaching 100,000. Did you deliberately underestimate the size of the spill and mislead the public?
I should stress
The response is leading to the problem. The dispersant that you're using corrects it. The EPA is now saying it's among the most toxic and least effective. How do you respond to that?
And in fact, I should stress.
Then how do you make sense of the claims that we saw in Jeffrey Kaufman's report that the experts were saying that where it has been used, that they can determine that 25% of the organisms living right below the surface have been killed already?
Well, I haven't seen any evidence to show that so far.
Any living organism that contacts this stuff, particularly the mixture of dispersant and oil, is at significant risk of acute mortality that's dying quickly, or sublethal chronic injury that might take weeks, if not months, if not years to manifest.
According to the Wall Street Journal, Corexit is among the least effective in breaking up the kind of oil that is prevalent in the area around the spill site.
Marine toxicologist Ricky Ott says the chemicals used by BP can wreak havoc on a person's body and even lead to death.
The volatile organic carbons they act like a narcotic on the brain, and at high concentrations, what we learned in Exxon Valdez from carcasses of harbor seals and sea otters, it actually literally fried the brain.
Right now, we cannot identify another product that is available that is better than the Corexit product, but we continue to look at that, and we formally replied to the EPA's request last night. But we'll continue to try to find something better than what we're using, but so far we haven't been able to do that.
You're looking at it, almost 100,000 gallons of the less toxic dispersant. Guess who ordered it? BP did on May 4th, almost 3 weeks ago.
I know that you're fully aware, Mr. Suttles, of the public outrage, and I think Representative Ed Markey of Massachusetts really summed it up. Want to play what he said and get your response.
I think now we're beginning to understand that we cannot trust BP. People do not trust the experts any longer. BP has lost all credibility.
Got it wrong about the amount of oil being spilled, the type of dispersant that is being used. So why should Americans trust anything that you have to say at this point?
But I can tell you, I don't know of anything, absolutely anything we could be doing that we're not doing, whether that's accessing expertise or applying resources to this problem.
More and more stories about sick fishermen are beginning to surface. They're out in the Gulf, many of them all day, every day, working to clean up the spill. Many blame the chemicals BP is using. One fisherman told me tonight he felt like he was going to die over the weekend.
I mean, I've been up coughing up stuff. Your lungs fill up.
Gary Burris is a longtime fisherman who has worked across the Gulf Coast. He says he woke up Sunday night feeling drugged and disoriented.
Like a sniffing gasoline or something. You know, and I still, my ears are popping right now. I'm still coughing up stuff. I feel real weak. The tingling.
According to Burris, some equipment was donated to workers in Lafitte, but as far as he can tell, BP has not added anything to the mix. And he says a lot of fishermen are working sick, afraid to speak out because it could cost them.
You got a woman with a baby in the oven and bills due and fishing's closed down. You're going to do whatever you have to look after your family.
Burris says when he went to the doctor after feeling ill on Sunday, the doctor told him his lungs looked like the victims of a 3-pack-a-day smoker. And Burris says he has never smoked.
Well, this is it, this brown caramel-colored, well, for lack of a better word, goo, and this is the week it really started to make landfall. Really, from the beginning of this disaster, BP has been saying that what's coming out of that well isn't that much oil, and by the way, those dispersants we're using, they're really no more harmful than dish soap. Now we're finding that none of that is true.